Now we're going. Right. So I'll start again. Yeah. Odham's History of the Second World War. History book. Probably in schools. Here we see. First published in 1951. Copyright. I think the copyright probably isn't going now. But anyway, I don't expect they'll mind. I looked in the index and we found here a bit about Bretton Woods. And here it is. The outstanding event in the financial world was Mr. Roosevelt's invitation to representatives of the United Associated Nations, there were 44 of them according to the United News Bretton Woods video on YouTube, 730 delegates, to meet on the, and Wikipedia agrees, to meet on the 1st of July at Bretton Woods, and I think they were there for 3 weeks, in New Hampshire, USA for a monetary conference. Important agreements were reached concerning the formation of an international monetary fund after the 1st of May 1945. On the video, it says, and I really would be so happy to have a look at it on YouTube, the Bretton Woods United News, it actually says, here we are, Man Washington, Bretton Woods, 44 allied nations from and 730 delegates come here to discuss world peace through economic prosperity. And on the first day of the conference, amongst other things, they will be discussing the stability of currencies. Oh, but this says of stable currencies. And it says an act giving effect to the agreement was not passed in the UK until 20th of December 1945. So even in the UK, it took them from almost a year and 3 months to discuss it and ratify it. As it says at the end of the video, all agreements to be ratified by the Allied and Associated Nations, respective governing bodies and parliaments. And so, of course, it would be recorded in all the respective bodies of governing bodies and parliaments, I suppose, were the promotion of international monetary cooperation, of stable currencies, of the removal of foreign exchange restrictions, and of mutual confidence between countries in one another's currencies. At a similar meeting at Dumbarton Oaks in October 1944, proposals were formulated for the formation of a United Nations organization. Amazing that, you know, they put forming the UN after this Bretton Woods thing. Maybe they thought it was more important. Okay, and then we go on a Lend-Lease. And they talk about billions in those days. How much? What is a billion? How much is a billion, Ollie?
A billion is 1,000,003 noughts.
Yeah, so 1,000 million, 9 noughts. So what if you multiply 1,000 by a million?
1,000 by a million.
What do you get?
1,000 by a million. That makes a billion.
Yeah, which is how many noughts?
How many noughts? Which is 9.
Yeah. And what's a million times a million?
A trillion, because you know 6 add 6 makes 12.
Yeah.
12 is a trillion, so and a million is 6 noughts. So
And
that's why
2 millions, 12 noughts. So 6 times 6 is 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go up in threes and they've got a comma. So 1,000 is 3 noughts, comma. A million, 6 noughts. So it's 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts, comma.
I know, yeah.
Well, actually 3 noughts full stop. Billion, 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts full stop, 9 noughts. And I think a trillion is 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts, comma, 3 noughts full stop. But the commas are really important, and you need your 3 times table because you have to be able to do. They all go up in 3 at a time.
I know my 3 times
Do
table.
you?
It is. So it is 3, 6, 12.
Oh dear, there's the atom bomb.
13,
We just had a look at that actually. Second atom bomb explodes over Nagasaki. Oh dear. The smoke did not begin to billow out until it had passed through high cloud layers. Yep, and that was awful, wasn't it? But I'm afraid these days we've got It is positive, says, yep. The tonnage of combat heavy is less than 100. The number of civilian deaths in the air offensive was 360,000. Most of this destruction, though not all, was caused by the Allied air power, and it was decisive. The Japanese accepted the obvious and surrendered. That's the Japanese surrendering.
Yeah.
Alright, just there, on board a ship with MacArthur, General MacArthur.
Who's General MacArthur?
He was like really important over, I think, in the Japanese part of the war over there. Okay, Bretton Woods again here now. On one other conference had like that of Dumbarton Oaks preceded the end of hostilities in Europe. This was the Bretton Woods Conference. The problem with which the Bretton Woods Conference had to deal with was the very serious economic plight of a great part of the world. This brought the representatives of 44 nations together. In practical financial terms, the problem called for something like Lord Keynes's International Clearing Union, which would permit the purchase and sale of various currencies, especially dollars and sterling, which most nearly approximated to international currencies. In this manner, countries would be able most easily to purchase abroad the food and raw materials they needed for reconstruction. The conference agreed to set up a monetary fund of $8,000 million, or what would 8,000 million be, Ollie?
8,000 million. 8,000. So basically, 8,000.
Yeah, it's 8,800 million.
$1,800,000,000.
Yeah, 8,800 million. Because 1,000 million is 100 million is not anything. It's just 100 million because it's only 2 noughts. But 3 noughts, 1,000 million, is a billion. So 8,000 million is a billion as well. Later increased to 9,100 millions, which would, anyway. Made up of subscriptions by various countries, the United States is contributing 3,175 million, and then 3,175, and the United Kingdom, Russia, other countries made smaller amounts. It was in such circumstances that Labour came to power. Mr. Churchill had proposed the coalition should continue, but Labour could not agree. The election returned Labour to Parliament with 394 seats, a majority of over 170 over any probable combination. The Conservatives secured 188 seats. Actual votes did not show so wholesale a turnover. Votes for Labour and those who could be counted upon to support the party, though 2 million in excess of the Conservative poll, were fewer than the Conservative and Liberal votes combined. So that's interesting. But anyway, so they did this Bretton Woods thing, and as we've seen, they were talking about stable currencies. And in the video, it talks about not since the Treaty of London in 1933 had there been such an important conference. And to show you again here, what they were talking about was stable currencies. And it seems a bit odd that today we've got 5.2 trillion moving on the currency markets, 300 days a year, Forex, and one man can earn $850,000 million on not stable currencies in one day. And in 1993 he could earn a similar amount. I think the newspapers at the time said it was about 200 national health hospitals worth. And then if you look at the good old video on YouTube, which George Soros is talking about how they need to be regulated, you can see that from 1944, and in fact Britain until 1945, and in fact the rest of the world didn't really catch up until, well, some of them didn't actually ratify it until 1946. So really, to have another conference with all these people at it, taking 2 years, when it really, they're only going to come to one conclusion really sensibly, is that you need stable currencies so that you don't have people gambling for a living and wasting all the cash and putting it somewhere where it's not helping, but it's actually hindering the public, the productive capitalist system, so therefore is anti-capitalistic. But you know, but let's remember here, you've seen some of the like, I mean, if you just have a look here at the demonstration, even in July in London, 2,441 people killed in 1944. Seriously injured, 7,000. So at the conference, I think it probably would have, you know, it would have made them think a bit, you know, that if you got all these bombs landing on London, even in July 1944, less than a year before the end of the war. Still in December, 317 were killed and 847 seriously injured. Anyway, and the fantastic king, who was marvellous, and the queen were there, and I think Princess Elizabeth was actually in the military at this time. Maybe you know. Anyway, so, but you know, you can see here that I think they stayed in Buckingham Palace or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, maybe I'll just show you again. International Monetary Fund was the promotion of international monetary cooperation of stable currencies, and I think this was promised to all those 18-year-olds who were just about to go off and fight in Europe, and some of them are already there at D-Day, and some of them wouldn't have been promised it and seen the video or the film, because unfortunately...
What's D-Day pronounced for?
D-Day? Oh, you got me there. D-Day. Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was Death Day.
Oh no, it's not Death Day, hopefully, no. I don't think they would have been quite that, you know, pessimistic about the D-Day landings. I'm sure it says in the book somewhere. I'll have a look, Ollie. Thank you.
I think barracks will be behind it. I think barracks will be behind it. Will be covered. It's too covered right here.
No. Yes, brilliant. Thank you, Ollie.